being taken out in sort of the first few seconds, really, of understanding where they're going to be playing when they're on that aggressive side. But it looks like we're ready to kick this one off, Blue, back on Bazaar.
Yep, and Bazaar also proves itself to be a little bit harder to do those kind of pre-nades and things like that. There's a lot more cover for the defenders, as they're normally inside of a building instead of like right by a porch or next to a garage or something like that. So they're obviously going to be a lot harder to pre-nade out of those positions. It's still the same general setups as starting to what these rounds are going to end up looking like as we get further into the future here. And this round's going to be no different, as we'll start on the far west side in the west market here. And we'll see a lot of teams, like they normally do, spread out with actually a pretty large amount of players towards the east side, but on the market wall here. There's actually 3 players that have committed to that this time. Normally it's about 2 that take up positions there, with another one possibly going to the far north, but it seems they've only chosen to keep 2 around the actual uplink and send 3 across the street to defend.
Yeah, I mean, more consistently as well, what we were seeing, obviously, from the Vikings there is where they kind of did go for the 3-2 split. With this, it is the 2-2, and you've got the one player off, essentially set up for what could work out as a bit of a nicer flank later into this round. Also a good position to get information if we did see any pushes coming through from Phoenix. Currently, though, heavily grouped up, just basically playing for each other's angles, so there is no potential for someone to sneak into the rear.
Besides this here now, got El Vegas moving back. Shout out to the man there. My hometown. Well, not hometown, but my current town.
The new place.
Yeah, yeah. I've lived in for 6 months. So we're going to see the rest of Legionnaires in a moment try to probably cut down towards the south and make their push through the market. So we've got them all stuck in more standard positions. So much slower play than what we were seeing on the Europe version of this game. That happened a little bit earlier today. As Eric and the rest of the guys from Legionnaires here really taking their time with the push, just holding a market, trying to see if Phoenix want to try to peek out and do anything aggressive. But they're not doing it either. They're all sitting back. They're all holding their pretty standard positions here. There's a little bit of movement now with one of their players shifting down towards the south, but I think there was just a general reposition, not really played off any intel there.
Legionnaires essentially just waiting to see if there is going to be early aggression or potential information plays from Phoenix to try and gain the early advantage into this one. However, they're keeping this very close to their chest, basically just creeping around, clearing the close angles, not really extending any further out than they have to. They don't want to push off out too far away from that uplink and leave themselves susceptible, but this could be our potential opening here towards Russia's Blue as they are making their move up. If he peeks out, he might find this early pick.
No, it's going to be him, yeah, picking up an early frag against Mahau. Knocks out the first player from the Legionnaires, and he'll be able to safely hold on the inside of this building, as K64N might be the next player to try and push into him, but he's already prepared for this next fight. In fact, he's looking down the alley. He's not necessarily checking to the inside of this garage here to watch out for any potential push. A trade post. Not Rusher just holding in a close corner. Eric, in the meanwhile, is going to be able to find a trade onto Mauno. This distracts Rushers, actually. Ooh. K64 spots him. Can't guarantee the kill. It looks like Rusher took some damage as he doesn't immediately look for the refry. Goes back to the window instead. Probably going to get a quick syringe off to heal him as well before he re-engages a moment later. No, Rusher is actually getting a superior position to knock out Raider now as he fires back and gives Phoenix another advantage.
This is huge. The timing of a watchmaker right now as he's able to dip and dive around. The charge coming through. They are going to trade it out as well. And this is very awkward. Now leaving them into a 3 versus 2 with the Legionaries being the one in the deficit. Obviously still spread fairly thin as well. The 2 players incredibly isolated from each other. K464N starts to advance though. Once again now has a little bit of an opening to try and push himself further into this. But surely Phoenix should be set up to dispatch these last 2, Blue.
Vegas, along with the last member from the Legionnaires, going to try to pinch together here and make a push. Problem is, time is low. They don't have a lot of intel, excuse me. They haven't really been able to get out onto that western street yet, so that would be the point where they would actually be able to try and gather some intel about where Phoenix is set up is positioned at, but they haven't even gotten close to that. So they're going to be going in blind here, and they don't really have the luxury of time to work off of. I do like how they're prioritizing trying to get into this position now, but it's still going to be a very, very lax amount of time and without any easy way to pick apart the setup, and definitely not the capability to throw away any of their own members here. For the sake of intel, it's going to make it very difficult to pull off the 2v3.
Literally hitting that last 60 seconds now. They cast out a smoke to give them some kind of shroud or potentially just a bit of mind games. Pos still heavily focused towards that angle. Vegas charging across, being spammed down, but he isn't quicker than the bullets that whiz into him. And it's all just left on the last remaining member, K464N. At this point, Blue, it's a man on a mission with an incredibly hard task. 40 seconds as the time stacked up against him. It's unlikely he can do too much.
Yeah, in a moment here, it looks like he's going to run out into Paz's angle, and down he will go. K464 not even having any hope as he walks into the setup, and Phoenix end up with a decisive round 1 in their favor. 3 players still alive at the end of it as they traverse up 1 round here. 2 more to go until they claim the map and the series.
It's kind of like, it looks like Khan, but in like leaked speak, essentially. K464N, you know?
It might actually be that, yeah.
That could be what he's going for. I've never seen a 6 used as a H, but maybe that is...
We'll have to hit him up about that one later.
We'll find out. We'll slide into those DMs.
Otherwise, it's just K464.
Yeah.
At which point, that probably means something coded that we don't know.
Our boy 464.
Some type of internal reference. He's actually just a Spartan, so he's got a call sign.
Yeah, that's his number.
Yeah. He's come from the Halo community to join up here. So
he's moved on over. That's where the aggression came from. That's why he's fast on his feet, you see.
Just rushes out there, thinks he can make a play for the sniper rifle or something like that, right?
He's trying to pick up that gun.
He's trying to pick up the rockets. That's what he's trying to do.
He knew the spawn, but timing just wasn't there. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
He got caught by his enemies, and we're holding that territory. Map control, just not where it needs to be. All right, well, enough of that. And we'll move into the second round here in just a minute, folks. As the Legionnaires will now jump onto the defending side for the same uplink, it'll be Phoenix's turn to attack from the east side of the map.
West side is the best, Blue.
Yeah. West is best. Same for the coasts. Unfortunately for you East Coasters out there, West Coast is better.
That's the truth. It's the raw truth.
Yeah. I grew up on the East Coast, so you'd think I'd defend it, but nope. West Coast is where it's at.
You've coasted far from your start there.
Yeah.
This has divulged quickly. It's like when me and Jason work together.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, round 2 is going to be getting started here in just a moment. Unfortunately, not much to talk about in that round as it plays out in a pretty straightforward way. Phoenix basically just don't divulge from their setup at all. Yeah. And the guys from Legionnaires just end up walking right into it for the most part. They try to make a few plays happen. Specifically, the last 2 you could see were trying to like poke and prod from the very north and south sides of the street to make something happen, but there just wasn't really any options. And like I said, because they lost so many players so far away from the uplink, they were never able to get close enough to the setup where they could actually find any information about, you know, how they were set up specifically, where they should look to throw grenades or smokes to block off angles and actually gain some momentum. And as a result of that, like I said, very easy 3v2 at the end there for Phoenix.
It's also how differently it could have gone if they actually did find rushes, literally at that mere fraction of a second where he got back behind the wall and was able to get another entry kill from it. And that completely turned the whole game on its head, really, there into that round.
All right, well, let's get into it. Like I said before, same uplink points, so we'll be here at the West Market. And Phoenix, this time we're going to be pushing from the East. They've gone for actually a pretty more split up strat than we saw from the Legionnaires. It'll depend on how it kind of morphs here in a few seconds, as we can either see them take the route they're taking now and go way down through the south and use the shield on Sri Lankan. They just push up the street, or they could refocus on the market like we saw Legionnaires do in the last round, but ultimately that didn't work for them because there was so much defense set up in that west courtyard.
Now, they have pushed fairly far down. They're actually in a position where they could play around each other quite nicely here. It's just this 2-player setup. Maho and the player above him is also there ready to try and protect. He'll obviously have that vision down the long corridor. But really could come back to bite them in the bottom a little bit here if they do actually push out into the open. They need to use that shield first, I'm Sri Lankan, to actually block any potential incoming death.
I see Malno take a reposition here too. Is he just trying to
camp somewhere in the mini market to trap them when they cross?
Just taking a listen there to Vegas. Like I said before, it's open comms in this game, so if the players speak, we're going to hear it too. And this is included for their enemies as well. So in case you're newer to Onward and are wondering why they're using the in-game talk instead of like a TeamSpeak, well, first of all, we enforce that players use the open in-game comms. And on top of that, it's part of the game. So if you're too close to an enemy, you've got to be very careful, even with like your breathing, as you could potentially give away your position to an opponent. We already saw some smack talk between 2 players on the opposing team in our European match earlier. So you get some funny instances like that as well, because they know they're on the broadcast, so they sometimes like to have fun with it.
That's why we're curious to see if the danglers play up to the camera a little bit later on tonight. I know they normally love to give it.
Yeah, we've got a few teams like that. We've got a few more as well in North America here that like to have a bit of fun with their broadcasts. So we'll see if we get anyone tonight that wants to mess around with us here. Even just like their hand motions and stuff like that get pretty funny sometimes.
The wave away.
Yeah, they'll wave at the camera or something like that. But no movement again in the early round here. Both teams taking an incredibly passive start. But like I said before, Phoenix a little bit different with their setup as they're trying to push from the south, whereas Phoenix almost entirely tried to push from main market and kind of got run over in this courtyard where they've got 3 players now. The big difference in Legionnaires' defense this time around is that they don't put anywhere near the effort into defending that west courtyard. Phoenix had 3 players in this position, whereas the guys on Legionnaires only have 1 position here. He's way to the north, so they can actually cut through this pretty easily. And I don't even think he's in the courtyard itself. I think he's out on the street, tucked away to a similar position that we saw another player in the last round take.
curious to see if that smoke is actually doing anything to block the vision of Vegas there from this corridor that he's laid down towards, as it is slightly spreading through and being a bit obnoxious to try and isolate him. This does give them a little bit of a window to slowly work their way up. Obviously, currently just sat waiting for the opportunity. They've used that early utility to give them the pathway, but time is ticking down. And all of a sudden, as we're talking about it, over at the barn, Don Patron gets eliminated by K464N.
So, the Spartan picking up an early kill here. Rushers is also going to be able to find one as the trade comes in, bringing us down to a 4v4. Rushers going to use actually a lot of his mag right there. So we'll see if he's got any ammo left to take on K464 if he makes a push. But Raider, in the meantime, from Legionnaires, picks up the next frag. Vegas will also knock out Mano. Things are falling apart very quickly here for Phoenix on the attack, as they're down to just 2 players now in a 2v4 situation. Rushers, yes, he'll find one here, but the problem is he's also lost Pause, his only other teammate, and he's now locked in a 1v3.
Yeah, this is horrible. A minute and 16 left to deal with, all isolated completely on his Todd, as he is going to have to try and work his way around this. Rapidly advancing, though, pushing around the outer rim, just on the outskirts of the town. He's have a small opening here to peer down, Blue, but he probably won't find too much. Essentially, the last 3 remaining Legionaries can just play around each other and complement each other and stop this player from slipping in through the rear. As we hit that 50 seconds mark, if he is going to do anything, it has to be soon.
He's going to work his way. He's taking a smart path. He's at least taking a path where he'll split up the fight the most here and try to guarantee individual 1v1s. But it's also a dangerous path as he needs to immediately pre-fire any enemy he runs into. Quick reminder again for those folks that might be newer, the TGK in this game incredibly low. So if you end up engaging from a bad position, you are almost certainly dead. Meaning that this needs to be a perfect push from him, especially if he goes right past Vegas. Oh, this could be the death of him. He's going to walk past the windows here. Doesn't seem to notice Vegas on the inside. They actually take each other down, so a good trade attempt from Rushers. Just a little bit too slow in the draw, unfortunately. So we are going to see the Legionnaires picking up their first round, tying us up at 1-1.
Yeah, keeping the game close at least for the meantime, so they actually do tie it back up. Essentially, it just seemed like Vegas had that whole map locked down from one choke point, obviously laying down there in the alleyway. As soon as they peeked out, it was an easy kill, completely for a spanner in the works. At that point, it all just started to crumble through, because their whole idea was to try and go for that 2-player push, get map control from there. As soon as they got isolated, it all just sort of went downhill.
Just for both teams, it seems like there was a lot of problems getting across the L intersection on the central and western streets that were really just blocking things off for the attackers trying to get access to it. Eventually, it seems like if the northern push that happened from the last man alive happened maybe like a second or 2 earlier from Phoenix, and they actually tried to utilize that as a distraction, maybe they could have pushed in from the south a little bit better, but because again it seemed like the timing were off a little bit, or he was supposed to be part of a later attempt to try and push in and distract, ultimately he was left with not a whole lot to do at the end of the game. You have to remember too that he was actually pretty far back at the point where he actually picked up his first kill, and by the time he got it, he was already alone at that point, and even as he was approaching it, it had gone down to the 2vx, so not much of an opportunity for him to do much in that situation. Once again, just another one of those rounds where things for the attackers fall apart so quickly, so early on in the round, that the players left in the clutch situation just are not really in a position to do much.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty horrible. Obviously, the amount of ammunition you had to commit to getting that first elimination as well, at that point, you're left really restricted on all fronts. You've no utility, you've got nothing to really work with in terms of the ammunition, and he still would have had to deal with 2 more members, even if he did get that first kill without being traded, with what, like 30 seconds left on the clock at that point? It's highly unlikely too much more would have come out of it. I think it's just the unfortunate factor of the timing being on their side.
Yeah, and keep in mind again, folks, that these guys are not communicating post-death. So once a player is down, he is out for the round. There's no TeamSpeak being used here at this point. There's no alternate form of communication. If you go down, but not like fully killed, you can still use your radio. But the second you do that, your opponent's going to realize it and knock you out. So you can get maybe like 1 or 2 comms out if you get down but not fully eliminated. Most of these players at this level, though, are good enough to the point where they would notice if someone has gone down but not fully eliminated, and they will make sure that he doesn't get any extra intel out. So a lot of players in these rounds, especially with how quickly some of these situations are devolving, they're going down without being given an opportunity to communicate anything over the radio. So the players that are left in these 1vx's, if they even know it's that type of clutch situation, will unfortunately be working with basically no info on what their opponent's setup looks like, and that means they're going in blind in that situation and ultimately end up walking into just like these massive setups. Even if they win one fight, they're immediately revealed and their opponents are going to pounce on them, and that player has no idea where to predict where that's going to come from.
Yeah, I think one of the key points as well that stresses that is I remember during those finals when Beefy actually went on to win a 1v3 clutch to actually shut down the whole thing and take the tournament. I remember speaking to him about it afterwards, and we had a bit of an interview, and he said essentially he had no idea he was even in a 1v3. At that time, he was still comming, still over the radio talking talking to who he assumed was his teammates helping him out in that scenario, because obviously you are completely isolated. There is no UI to help you out. It's only the information you have from relaying that from other teammates and being able to sort of, pick that up on the fly. It's very heavy on keeping that information going through players. So as soon as there's a weak link there and you lose someone, it can become incredibly hectic to actually work out what situation you're in.
And it's quite a nerve-wracking situation that these players end up in a lot. Keep in mind, again, that the aiming is all done manually. This isn't just, players, using one controller to aim their gun. This is something where they have to keep both of their arms stabilized on a gun, normally with the assistance of something like a Pro Tube or another form of, another form of controller holder that basically acts as like a gun stock for them. Players without those, they have to be, if they end up in a shaky situation where their hands are shaking or they get nervous about something and their aim gets messed up because of that, that could obviously throw around out of the balance too. So these players have to be cool, calm, and collect in these situations. And that can be very hard to do, especially for players that are relatively new to esports and haven't been put in these pressured situations before. It can get to quite a few players.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the reasons as well why we see sort of a lot of the ex-veteran community that actually do take part in Onward have a very good understanding of how to keep themselves sort of very composed, because they were talking about that is in the sense that, they know they need to not let the situation really overwhelm them, because you really can't afford to. Obviously, in those sort of clutch scenarios, one wrong move is your demise in this game because of, as you said, how quickly you can actually be taken down. One bullet here or there, that's it. It's over.
Yep, pretty much. All right, guys. Well, we are going to move the uplink now. It's actually gone pretty much to the opposite side of where it was before. So we're in that eastern courtyard once again, where it'll be up to Phoenix this time to defend it. Legionnaires back on the attack. So far, it's been all defensive round wins. We have yet to see an attacker win. That could change on this round, though.
Ooh, okay. Well, that is a ridiculously early opener. Rushers, the man that's pretty much been the star of the show so far for our A portion, Blue, kicks it off once again.
That's a long shot, too.
Ridiculous kill, yeah.
Let's see how far away that was. Check on the minimap. Right at the very top, you can see where the X is, where he picked up the kill. That's almost the entire width of the map that he picks up that frag from. So really well done, especially considering it was I think it was an LMG, the AK-12, that he ended up getting the frag with. So it's not an easy gun to stabilize at that range.
That's the cross-map kill.
Yeah, if it was like an SA-80 or some other type of like sniper or bolt-action rifle, then obviously it'd be a little bit less impressive, but to get it done with the AK-12 is some very cool stuff.
Yeah, that is a wild opener. That's definitely going to put the fear into you early. It's one way to kick this off.
Okay, Vegas cross.
See if anybody else tries to go for a North Street push now with them knowing that that's going to be a position they'll have to deal with. At least assumingly knowing that that's a position they'll have to deal with. Because like I said, intel's not necessarily something that teams are always given. So we shall see how they build upon this. As obviously all the focus from this point forward is going to be on the central market and trying to maneuver their way through there. It does look like someone from Legionnaires has gone back, either to retrieve something from his now downed teammate or attempt to make the push from the north side. However, some shots coming out. I'm not sure if that was from the player on Phoenix that's holding the north end or another player, but someone does get a spot. Tries to deal some damage off that.
It seemed like it might have been Rushers, obviously just on the spot, because it was the exact timing he went for the cross. As it does seem like he is attempting to recover towards it. Rushers actually slightly moving around, though. Not really fancying his chances to go for that wide swing, knowing he's still in position. But he can push up. Obviously, this back wall will give him a fair amount of cover to actually advance quite further down. Should still come into Rushers' eye line when he gets towards the end, though, Blue.
Rusher's going to be patiently waiting for that opportunity. It looked like Eric actually left a smoke on the ground there too, so had an opportunity to try and throw a distraction out with that extra smoke, but he's decided not to use it. It's, as far as I can tell, it was left back on the ground by their other teammate's corpse. So they're going to leave that extra utility. And it will unused for the rest of this round. Speaking of the round itself, we're about halfway through the timer at this point. Legionnaires starting to throw a few of their utility towards the courtyard itself here. As we can see, K464 trying to distract. Rushers is going to be found out here. Some shots coming his way, although it's not looking like much is connecting, as Eric might have just been pre-firing. A nade's going to go in that actually might end up knocking him, and there we go. The roll ends up working out brilliantly for Rushers as it banked off the bottom, going right next to Eric and taking him out real quick.
Rushers, things don't work out for him in Onward. He's always got his professional basketball career to fall back on, as that was a beautiful dunk.
Now he probably going to have to go for a third frag here in a second too, as I'm not sure if Mahou's going to actually make an attempt to res his teammate, which is a possibility. You can tell again, that's a plus symbol, means they're down but not out just yet. However, Rushers has to know to expect pressure from his left side now, considering he's already found 2 frags from the top end. There's no way anyone would route back at this late in the round and try to take the same pathing. So there we go, Mahal. He's got the spot under Rushers. Neither player really able to connect much. Mahal's coverage is not fully perfect, though. I'm pretty sure Rushers can penetrate through that slightly and still get damage onto Mahal. So he's got to be very careful about how he approaches this. Elsewhere on the map, a little bit down to the south, Sri Lankan picks up another frag against K464, and Mahal is knocked out. A beautiful shot. Pause! Oh no! Is going to accidentally down and frag Don Patron there. Guess Legionnaires will take that. It's the only frag they got so far in this round, but that's it. They're down only 1 player left standing. It's going to be El Vegas. He's not going to last very long either, as Paz gets a second team kill at the end of it there. No, finally taking down Rushers.
I mean, it was bloodthirsty. At least in the end, they were actually able to close it out, and they do get another point marked up there for the round, but definitely a little bit of the TK action coming through.
They just wanted to deny Rushers' his like multi-kill streak that he's going on right now. Gets 3 kills in that round. He's like, all right, you're not building up any more than that. We're going to stop this here.
Going to stop the confidence.
Stop the ego from blowing up.
He doesn't want to lose him to another team. So, you know, trying to keep him in his place. Gets out the belt.
That's right, you're under my command.
It's the aggression of the in-game leaders.
But yeah, once again, a good defensive hold coming out there from Phoenix. Attackers just not really having a whole lot of luck here on attack or on Bazaar today so far here, as it's been a very defensive-sided site. Right now, we've had two uplink points which relatively play into the defender's favor. The one that's on the far east here, we've definitely seen attackers win it. It really depends on how the early round goes, though, because if the defenders kind of overexpose themselves, especially with those market positions that we see a lot of teams take, and they end up losing like 1 or 2 players in the beginning, that's when the attackers can really take a massive advantage, just because you do not have enough defensive manpower to cover every single angle into that site at that point. So normally the attackers can find a relatively easy way in, and if not get the uplink, at least overpower their opponents. But so far, defenders have been playing incredibly passively, and on both sides, it's been working out really well. We just ended up trading rounds back and forth.
I think that's also the most sort of split and isolated we've actually seen the attackers play so far at this point, because before it has been quite heavily towards the buddy system, where obviously you do have a little bit of trade potential here and there. There is leeway around that, because obviously if you're both caught in the open exposed, you are both going down pretty much. But wasn't really much opportunity for a trade at all there. For the most part, the only adjustment we did see was the re-aggression back around. Mihal had 1 opportunity, but Russia's just far too hot to handle at the minute. Definitely being a big improving force. Oh, style points as well, Blue. Did a little bit of juggling with his gun there in spawn. Casting it in the air. That was nice.
Typing out something for my notes there, so I'll just have to take your word for it.
It was good. He's got good forearm strength. Yeah. That's the thing about Russia's.
With the weightless guns. Seemingly weightless, anyway. We've got Rushers. He's going to be moving in towards the market first. He's not going to have much team support either. The rest of his team, he's got Sri Lankan a little bit to his right here, but in terms of actually pushing into the market, he's kind of all on his own. The rest of the team has gone way down towards the south, and they are moving together to try and push in from this angle.
This is actually a very big group of them as well. Pretty much the entire squad advancing together here in a nice position. Just depends if they actually do go for the full execute out around, as that is blocked off. We do have one of the Legionnaires waiting with that open angle, looking the whole way down. He's got a bit of fair vision there just behind the back, so if they do execute too far around the angle and opt instead to try and push their way up through these close choke points, K464N should get a bit of a spot on them and get some information off the back of that.
I'm trying to figure out where the 5th player from Phoenix is at.
It does look like we only have 4 currently.
I think I counted 5 silhouettes before, so maybe the 5th is just like not on the minimap for some reason, but...
And there we go. We've got the 2 here, we've got the 2 over to the right, and the 1 laying down at the back right there, who doesn't appear on the map right now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think he's just bugged on the minimap, so no biggie. Try to keep our eyes on him as we get later into the round, of course. We don't lose track of that too much. But Phoenix are actually looking like they're going to ignore the market side completely. I think they'll keep 1 player back to make sure no one from Legionnaires tries to flank from the market. But I think we're going to try a different route on this. More than likely move in, take control of the junkyard, and then with junkyard access, they get easy play on the east street here, and they can swing up through there into the actual site itself. But unfortunately, junkyard control is going to guarantee easy access from the street, because you still have that player way up to the north on Legionnaires. They can get in their way too.
It's an early spam coming through. Sri Lankan shooting his way underneath the bottom, trying to get that contact off. I'm not sure if he actually had vision there at all, if that is just an early spam coming through, potentially to just try and get them to focus towards him.
Either way, Pause is going to strike first here. Nade from Rushers, a bit off the mark. He ends up just banking it off one of the little awnings here. So smoke instead will be the way they have to play this. It'll give good blockage, but oh, Rushers walks right into a pre-fire angle there for Mahal. He was very well prepared to take that fight. and take it he shall. Brings us down into a 4v4. Pause as well. Is walking into a bad situation if he doesn't realize it soon. He's got K464 hiding in the shed. He's heard the shots. He's got a chance to turn the fight around. I think K464 misfired at the start, but no. K464 still ends up winning the fight on Pause. But Don Patron again finds a trade. We're right back to an even keel fight at 3v3.
Oh, Don Patron as well, just spamming his way out there, carrying on with a warning shot. Sri Lankan in close proximity to try and trade this back onto K46N. There's the elimination onto Vegas as well. Finally put to a grisly end. We're left into a 2 versus 3. Phoenix have the advantage into this one. This could be the third point picked up as they bring it down to the 1 versus 3 blue. This is not looking good at all. The last remaining man, oh, in such a horrible position, trapped behind the uplink. He has the nade in his hand.
I was about to say, is he going to run out with a knife?
Yeah, it looked like it. I thought he was just going to take himself out at that point, but he gets the kill onto Sri Lankan. Unfortunately, there's the trade back. Phoenix are going to take it with a 3-1 scoreline as they close it down.